Thank you very much, Quickshot. I'm Medic, joined by the Vedicade duo.
It's Medi Mark.
Very Mark, or Very Mac if you use his actual name.
My name's Mark.
Yeah, his name's Mac.
Oh.
It's Mac Lemons. Heard about Mac Lemons?
You can see we're integrating him into Vedi quite comfortably. We're in for a banger of a series today. We're happy to be back in the studio. We have the players here. We can guarantee Jankos is already screaming his head off. So you know you're in for a banger day. A lot of excitement here on the desk and in the studio.
Yeah. Definitely, and we'll have to see how the games progress because we saw yesterday lots of Hecarim prio. I think the analyst test talked about as well. Tristana Xayah, really high prio as well, kind of trading it off with the Kai'Sa in between as well. So we'll see what these two teams have been practicing. So obviously they've been practicing against perhaps the same teams because SK Fnatic in the lower bracket, so probably good rim problems for them. So I think that the priorities might be the same.
And we've already heard Broken Blade saying he has some pocket picks. He has something spicy for Schalke here in this draft. We'll have to see if they can bring out a god draft like they did versus Exile, as you say, Mark. The lights have dimmed and we are going to go and get on into this best of 5.
Whew, we're excited. The players are excited. We know you're excited at home. So without further ado, let's get into draft for the first game of the day. So, yeah.
That just happened.
That just happened.
I couldn't hear anything, so I just went with you guys.
There wasn't any music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there wasn't any
Oh, we're the music. Oh, wow.
We were the music.
There's League says his casters, and then there's us.
Right, we're in the draft. Thresh already going to be taken off the board. We saw a lot of support priority yesterday. We saw Alistar taken off the board, Rell taken off the board. We'll see if G2 and Schalke look to emulate that today.
Yeah, there's a lot of bot lane bans, right? Yeah, the Tahm Kench, the Thresh, the Kalista, all these kind of things were banned out in the first rotations of the draft, but the Senna being taken out takes away the Tahm, so that in turn means that that's out. TF being banned away, Lucian being banned away. We're looking at things like Rell and Hecarim, which I think Hecarim was the highest priority champion in the series yesterday.
Yes, it certainly was. I'm also looking at this Volley Bear. We saw a fair amount of it from Selfmade yesterday, and back when G2 was super strong last year, it was Jankos on these ganking junglers, constantly setting up his laners for success. But they are going to stick with the Hecarim. It's very much what we expected, and then it's going to be a fast lock.
And I expect the Kai'Sa, right? I think Neon, something like Kai'Sa Leona, Kai'Sa Rell could be a really good 1-2 for Schalke. Neon, I think, has the most Kai'Sa games in the league. If not, he played like 8 in a row. I remember this split. So they're going to go for the Udyr, which matches jungle, and they're going to pick up the Alistar instead. So Alistar into Rell makes a lot of sense. So not going for the Rell means that you would get counted by the Alistar anyway if you decide to pick it up, so they can go for AD carry on 3. And we know the Xayah Kai'Sa trade-off is always there. But
as much as the Alistar does counter the Rell Hecarim is still a very deadly hero.
Yeah.
Hecarim can still get into the backline. Rell's there for the follow-up Magnet Storm, and then Alistar has this quandary of like, who do I peel? Am I getting the horse off, or am I getting the other horse away from my team?
Yeah, and yesterday this happened as well. If they pick up the Rell, it's having Hecarim, Kai'Sa, Rell on the 1-2-3 as blue side. I saw this yesterday as well. It just feels so overpoweringly strong in the early stages of the game. We'll have to see what Mickey wants to go for support, because obviously Alistar into Rell is a good matchup. You could go for something like a Gragas into Alistar, which makes a lot of sense because Kai'Sa Gragas is in turn a good lane because you do get the engage, and Gragas can cancel the Alistar combo with his body slam, so it stops limits engage.
Gragas can also be acted as a flex pick. We've seen it a lot between top and support throughout the regular season. We may very well see it come out today, depending on what Schalke go for. But given that Schalke's on red side, we expect Broken Blade to have, I was going to say the counter pick, but it seems that Schalke's read is that this Gragas will be going into the top lane, but perhaps this was a little... Okay, they are going to pivot away from it, yeah, because of course the risk of that flex pick is very real, and we know that Mickey loves playing Gragas, so I'm sure he would be happy to take that bot so that Wunder can have a better match.
I think the bigger problem there Schalke was running into was the AD carries open, right? If they decide to go with a top laner there and they banned away things like Xayah, things like Sivir perhaps, then you'd be in a really difficult spot, especially if you wanted a hyper carry. Yes, you could go for something like Jhin, but that would really struggle into this already quite beefy front line that G2 has. So now both teams have bottom jungle. You would expect, yes, the Gragas is a flex. So now we're looking at mid and we're looking at last pick top. So Schalke banning away the blind pick tops for G2 on blue side, and I expect G2 to either ban away mages or counter pick tops for what they want to blind pick on blue side.
Now, Schalke, as you say, have opted into that Xayah pick. Went 0-4 yesterday. Does give yourself some good peel against the Hecarim, against the Gragas, but didn't have the best of performances, whereas Kai'Sa, on the other hand, went 3-1 in her games yesterday.
Well, that was pretty surprising considering from what I've heard from the pro players, Xayah is extremely strong right now. But we'll have to see how things shake out today. So far, no, I'm excited to see what the mid lane focus is because we've actually seen a lot of mid lane bans. Yesterday I talked about high priority picks. Notice that Lucian, Tristana and Twisted Fate, the three most popular and high priority mid laners, all taken off the board. Now Orianna has joined the ban table as well. How deep into these mid lane pools do we go? Will we get to see something like a Caps Sylas? Will we get to see something like an Azir pop up again? We saw that from Nisqy yesterday, maybe even the Seraphine, with the Syndra now taken off the board too.
Yeah, looking at these bans, both teams have sort of like an AD-ish jungle. You probably want a mage mid for both these teams, but most of the mages being taken off. Yesterday we saw things like the Victor, the Ahri. These are champions that you could pick up if you're Schalke on 4 because I am expecting them to last pick top for BB. But Caps is definitely going to have a counter for things like the Ahri. So it's very dangerous here. I think just a safe control mage is the best option for them, something like the Victor.
I mean, that would make a lot of sense. Caps, of course, has basically every champion in the game in his arsenal. We have seen his rise a few times this season as well. Zoe, an opportunity as well. Schalke here trying to save the last pick for Broken Blade in the top lane. He has consistently been the carry for this team.
The Sylas ban from G2 does suggest that they could be thinking still of a Gnar top lane, because the risk is, of course, if you then go for the Gnar blind and then the enemy locks in Sylas, well, then you're playing into the Gnar, Gragas, Hecarim that a Sylas can just steal all those ultimates from. So an element of respect coming out from G2. The question is, what will they now use to answer into the Azir? Sometimes we see Caps' Echo being brought into it, but the question is that the direction that they want to go?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a Gnar blind pick, so Schalke will have the counter for that. Good thing for G2 is that Jace already banned out, which is one of the good picks into Gnar. The other one being something like a Kennen, but I don't think that would fit Schalke's comp very well. I think Schalke looking at a bit of frontline here as a last pick, so maybe not too much value, but BB could go for something like the Camille as well. But like looking at their comp, it doesn't feel like it synergizes really well. But Azir picked up for Schalke, kind of went under the radar for me. Completely forgot about Azir. He is very powerful, but is it going to be Azir, Corki, Resident Sleeper?
It is. Sorry, is this Worlds 2020, Worlds 2019, Worlds 2018, or Worlds 2017? That's the question. Azir, Corki always make their way back into the meta in the end. Schalke here still with the final pick for Broken Blade. I was going to mention Urgot as an opportunity. We did see him bring that out at the end of the regular season, and of course saw it from GenX yesterday, but instead, Wukong, some good engage potential. Very strong team fight here from Schalke.
Yeah, I think Wukong will do fine in the lane phase. I don't think he's going to win. Perhaps at level 6, if he catches the Gnar, he can look for that kill. But just looking at team comps in general, you have G2's comp, which has winning lanes and is pretty strong in the early game. And you have got the Corki, which level minute 8 will get the package, and then you can start contesting the Herald. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go for something like that. But Schalke's comp, both of their carries scale super well. You have an even farming jungle matchup, somewhat of a losing top, but you have really good engage support. Limit on the Alistar has been flawless this split, so if he can find some roams to mid, that'll be really crucial for the game. I think whoever gets from bot lane to mid this game can impact the map the most.
Yeah, I find both comps very similar in my eyes, and both have like very similar scaling. The biggest thing for me is Schalke's range. Just because they have Azir, I always wonder if when playing against something like a Corki, you're going to be able to threaten the backline, or do you just play that front-to-back style? And I think that's going to be a big influence of this mid lane. I think is going to impact a lot in these late game fights. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Like very standard front-to-back comps, a lot of team fighting, a lot of action. Nothing too crazy in our first game of the series, but somewhat as you would expect as these teams and players return to the stage.
Yeah, last time these two teams met was all the way back in 2018. It was 3-1 to G2 on that day. We'll see if G2 can fight once again and make their way to the top of the standings. 4 titles in a row for them, back to back to back to back. Schalke trying to upset the apple cart at the first hurdle. Let's get on into the action. And we get on into Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, I think Schalke's composition to me looks like the composition we've seen out of Schalke throughout the whole split, right? They've got the check marks that I think are very fundamental in a team that need to have a team comp that's very easy to execute to the point where it has good scaling and a good early game. So I made a little bit of a checklist. And I think these are the three key things I wanted. I wanted engage support, engage jungle. Yes, they don't really have too much of an engaged jungle. I think the Hecarim would have been great for them. Obviously, G2 picked it away. A scaling split push top, which I think Wukong is not the best split pusher, but it gets you that side lane prio, and you can collapse and engage with flanks, and a wave clear mage mid that scales really well. I mean, Azir is top of the class for that S+ tier kind of scaling. Attack speed and ability power scale infinitely into the game, I think. The two biggest scaling stats that you can get. So I really like Schalke's comp. Looks quite sound. It looks like Schalke are sticking to their guns.
Yeah, it feels to me that Schalke are pretty happy with what they've got for themselves. And I think one of the most comforting things when playing against G2 is that they haven't brought anything too crazy out either. One of the scariest things about playing against this team is they are very creative when it comes to best of fives. And sometimes early on in a series, they'll just try something new to see how well it works. And maybe that's a potential pocket pick that now also has to be banned away. But so far, a lot of meta drafts, perhaps the Corki not as common, but something that we did see a lot from Magifelix during the regular season with things like the Immortal Shield Bow. And you know how much damage that champion can do in the late game.
Yeah, Corki kind of fell off in a way because the Trinity Force nerfs, no more Sheen procs, it made it quite difficult to make this champion work. But with the Immortal Shield Bow, with the crit chance, things like this, it was working pretty well for Magifelix. So I'll have to see how Caps uses this Corki pick, because Azir Corki, there's not going to be much explosion in this mid lane. As much as I'd love to see Caps go for 1v2s or try to go for solo kills, or Abbedagge even going for solo kills, this will be a bit of a scaling matchup. Both have TP, one bad trade, you can always TP back. But I think looking at the early game, the important thing I want to look at here is Schalke actually leashed in bot side. So G2 have full information where Gilius started, he's pathing towards the top side, whereas Schalke don't really have any information on Jankos, who's pathing towards bot. So I'll have to see how this progresses, because Wunder could be quite vulnerable if Gilius decides to look for an early gank in top, where Wunder will be pushing quite heavily.
Of course, what it does mean is that Gilius is just that little bit quicker through his jungle. You can see he's about a camp ahead right now. He'll be able to get that topside Scuttle Crab pretty easily himself, and we'll see if he's able to utilize that advantage. Is the Flash Udyr instead of a Ghost Udyr that we've been seeing a little bit in the league so far this season, as we see Mickey and Rekkles getting the push here in the bottom lane.
Yeah, the Flash Bear Slap. Now G2 stacking the third wave, and they will crash it because of the leash, which also means that you can start looking for plates, but it's quite dangerous against level 2 Alistar, who could Q-flash and then knock you into the tower. So you can start pushing in the next wave and then look to get some deep vision in enemy jungle, or look for a cheater recall in term you base, then you come back out to the lane before the enemy team can push out and base themselves.
Yeah, I think the part in the early game that we really need to keep our eyes on is this top side, because you can see the Wunder does have the push, but his jungler was pathing towards bot.
Here comes
Gilius now top side, but Jankos also heading up towards the top side of the map.
Does Wunder have the jump? Nowhere really for him to go so far. Tries to leap back towards the Tribush and should just be able to walk his way out of this one. As you said, Jankos on the top side of the map is actually going to be able to get the scuttle here for himself.
I really like Jankos' pathing. What he did was he full cleared towards bot side. He knew Gilius was pathing top, and he timed it perfectly to go back towards top side to contest this top crab, to deny it from Gilius, knowing that Gilius perhaps might look for a gank on Wunder. But now there's a fight in mid.
Jankos uses the Ghost. Abbedagge is just going to shuffle across the wall here. Importantly, Jankos did not smite that top side scuttle, so he still has smite for this bottom side if he decides to fight Gilius for it.
The thing is, G2's bot lane decided to reset. Notice that they've gone back to base, they've spent some of their money, and they won't be there to be able to contest this bot scuttle crab. So Jankos has just guaranteed himself a scuttle at the very least, and he's also given his bot lane the opportunity to get back to base, and now they'll have an advantage returning into lane.
Exactly, so the third wave crashes, pushing the fourth, let's get a cheater recall and go back. What does this give G2? Well, Mickey could roam towards mid and get some vision to make Abbedagge's life a bit harder, or he can come back here and try to freeze the lane. But it looks like G2 aren't going to try and contest it, going to try and contest this wave. They're just going to catch underneath the tower, and Mickey will roam towards mid and maybe help out Caps a little bit, who is trading quite aggressively onto Abbedagge now. But all of these early game trades are quite even, I'd say.
But have a look at this. So I was just about to point out that what Schalke's bot lane now wants to do is reset. So Mickey, recognizing this, just trying to play spoiler. He's trying to get in their face. This was a ward that he'd already placed earlier, and Limit does a good job of protecting his AD carry, but now his base will be delayed. That means that G2 is going to have this much of an advantage in the bot side of the map, and with Jankos pathing from top side down towards bot, they could even start stacking up those waves and threaten a potential dive.
Yeah, it looks like that bot lane wave would freeze because they have a minion advantage on the side of Schalke, but it won't. It'll bounce. The next minion wave will come and start hitting the wave before the enemy minion wave comes. So you can see now this wave will start to bounce and it'll start to stack. Maybe G2 can try to do something on the stacking wave.
Well, 5 minutes into the game, we are dead even in terms of gold across the board. No real CS advantages being built up for either team. And this is kind of how Schalke like to play their early game. They take it slow, they take it steady, they don't try and get any big advantages, and then they play towards those team fights. And from their composition here, that looks to be what they're trying to do once again.
Yeah. Gilius and Abbedagge going base. I would expect Abbedagge to TP back because Caps has. Now the next wave comes and they'll start hitting the wave first. So G2 have a little bit of a nice wave here. Jankos is bot side, like you said, Vedius. Abbedagge does TP back. And Jankos playing around mid is something I've seen so much throughout the season. He goes around mid, pushes in with Caps so they can move to sides, or he hovers around so Caps can push out and they can move together. But Jankos is on the bot side of the map. Maybe he wants to start a Drake with the stacking wave or look for an invade, but he's hovering around the bot side of the map now.
Well, he does know that the enemy blue should be spawning relatively soon, and that means that Gilius is going to be pathing something that way. The ping does come down. You can see the question mark ping. Not sure if Jankos actually got information on Gilius there or not, but they're aware that the jungler should be on bot side. So Mickey and Rekkles aware of that. Caps has no teleport, same for Abbedagge. Wunder does have TP though. He has a wave pushing in, so Schalke have to respect it if they try and force something right now. The ability for top laners to join will definitely be in G2's advantage.
Yeah, looks like G2 will just contest the 2v2. Jankos coming back down towards here, but Gilius is starting up the dragon. Abbedagge did push in and is hovering around, but Schalke's bot lane can't move. And G2 fine, and there's an engage though.
Neon knocked up, heals immediately. Limit trying to body block here. Jankos going underneath the tower with the rampage, and he's rooted, and Jankos is just down. And here comes Gilius. Both flashes still available for Mickey and Rekkles. Gilius looking for that stun. Just about gets in range. Mickey yet to burn his flash to try and get away. There it is. And manages to flash body slam himself to safety.
Yeah, I think Jankos went way too deep there. I think the engage initially from Mickey was good, but the follow-up was just too poor from Jankos. Does end up losing his life, and Neon picks up first blood in a lane which Schalke were losing in a sense, because G2 had a natural advantage from just getting the waves pushed in from the leash initially, but now they're behind. Neon gets the first kill of the game. They can push out the wave, and they expect them to base, so Schalke starting to control the bot side of the map.
It's a little bit like Medivh bot lane, we're in a really good position, and then Kadril says, hey, I can come gank this lane. He tries to dive the tower, everything starts to fall apart, you know? And obviously this does mean that Schalke's bot lane do have a slight advantage now. They're going to use this opportunity to reset after pushing out the wave, and then after coming back to base, let's see if they can use it. But as we were saying, Schalke very comfortable in this early game, and kind of the best setup that they could have when going up against a team like
I think
G2.
your analogy is poor, Vedius, because you're hard stuck Diamond 4. But anyway, let's keep looking at the game. Neon is going to go towards base. Broken Blade has been getting pushed in this top side. Not much action around the top side. Both junglers have been focusing towards the bot side of the map, but because of this ranged top laner into a melee top laner, obviously you can control the waves more, so Broken Blade is getting pushed in. He won't lose too much. He can start catching the waves on the tower, but not much is actually happening in this top side of the map.
Wunder has consistently been a key performer for G2, up in the top of most people's all-pro lists, alongside people like Odoamne. And the thing about Wunder is he hasn't always stuck to the same guns. He hasn't been playing the same champions the entire time, but here we see him on one of his favorites, the Gnar, as he continually pushes Broken Blade back under the tower.
I believe this is his first Gnar game of the split, isn't that right, Medic?
Yep.
Which is kind of insane when you think about it, because when you think about how the meta has been playing out and how like Gnar, Renekton has been like the go-to pretty much throughout the split, the fact that he's had these impressive laning stats without ever having to blind pick this Gnar, like, just goes to show the caliber of a top laner that Wunder is and his consistency throughout the split.
Yeah, so consistent on so many different picks, even things like the Iron. But yeah, like you said, hasn't been playing too much Gnar. This is his first Gnar game of the split, which is surprising in a sort of Renekton Gnar meta. But what actually happened on the map there was Mickey gave up a bot wave with Rekkles. Mickey moved towards the top side, secured the Herald. So now G2, they do own the Herald. But it looks like Schalke on a cross map. Looks like they're starting up the Drake, but Caps has pushed in mid, and he has a package. 8 minutes on the clock. The package has been picked up for Caps, and he's going to stop them from being able to trade off on neutral objectives. G2 lose a little bit of XP and gold and perhaps a plating in the bot side, but for the Herald, it's obviously worth it.
Well, it's only worth it if you use the Herald correctly, right, Kadril? Because they need to be able to get those plates down themselves. Of course, they have 5 minutes before plates fall off. As Limit goes in, Gilius looking for the stun here. Mickey has nowhere to go, no flash available, and Schalke in the bottom lane are finding advantages.
That was just a misplay from Mickey. His body slam was poor. He tried to stop Limit from being able to not get the knockup, but Mickey's body slam was just cancelled by Limit. You don't see that often. Normally the Gragas is the one cancelling the Alistar, but in this case, just such a good play by Limit, cancelling Mickey, knocking him back. This early game is definitely Schalke favored.
It certainly is. The question is, what will they be able to do with it? They should convert this into a Cloud Drake, and I think this is kind of going as we expected. When we looked at the drafts, we saw them being very similar. We think they both have pretty good scaling. They're both going to look to fight around these major objectives in the mid to late game. But the fact that Schalke are finding these advantages largely off of mistakes from G2, the over-aggressive, I would say, dive effectively from Jankos, the misposition here from Mickey. Like, Schalke off to a great start in this best of 5.
Oh, 100%. And I think as much as the drafts are playing out the way we would have expected the drafts to, I would never have said at 10 minutes Schalke would be 1,000 gold ahead in this game. G2 have overextended a couple of times, made those mistakes, and Schalke have been willing to pounce, and now they're in a really good position coming into the 15, the 20-minute mark, because they're already stacking up those Drakes, they already have a gold lead, and that gold is sitting on Neon, one of their key carries when it comes to late game.
Yeah, Schalke are going to have to find more ways to get ahead, though. They're only around 400 gold up. Top lane has been losing for them because of the matchup, isolated 1v1, but just good identifications from Schalke themselves. I think the mistake from Jankos was capitalized on well. Yes, they lost the Herald, but they did end up picking the Drake, and Limit's proactivity gets them another kill. So Schalke sitting pretty nicely in this early game.
Now, we can see that Jankos is hovering around the top side. As we've already mentioned, he does, of course, have the Herald. And given that Neon and Limit are pushing in this wave, I would have thought that G2 could consider swapping up towards the top side, trying to make that cross map happen and opening up plates. But instead, they're going to continue to match in the 2 versus 2. They're not going to drop the Herald just yet. And it looks like instead, G2's got their eyes on mid.
Abbedagge does just have the shuffle away here. Jankos unable to find a connection. Wonder coming in as well as he lands the boomerang. Abbedagge will shuffle underneath the tower. Wonder going to try and put some more damage down as here comes the Rift Herald. G2 going to open up those plates in the mid lane. Shouldn't be able to take the entire tower here. That Bulwark passive on the tower after plates falls makes it so much more tanky. And it means the gold will go to G2, but they are still at a deficit.
Yeah, G2 smartly using their top lane priority to get into mid so they can use the Herald, get a numbers advantage. But going back to what Vedius said, it feels like G2's bleeding gold on this bot side of the map. I mean, look at Schalke's vision. Observers, if you can look inside the bot side jungle of G2, you can see it's all lit up like a Christmas tree. Schalke have full vision to work with, and they can spot out Jankos on every single camp that he starts. So Schalke have full information to push these bot waves in, and that's why they've got themselves 3 plates.
G2 do know that Limit is here, as they've got that ward in the Tribush. Only a plate and a half remains there on the G2 bottom lane turret. And Neon level 8 with the Noon Quiver and the Berserker's Greaves, and in a very strong position on this Xayah as Gideus looks towards the mid lane.
Yeah, Caps has the flash and the Valkyrie.
There is the stun. Abbedagge shuffling in, and Caps doesn't even get time to move. Caps is just deleted off Summoner's Rift.
I feel like Caps was hesitant to either use the flash or the W purely because he was aware of Abbedagge's ultimate knocking him back. But I think he hesitated too much, and he just kind of said, okay, I don't think I can get out of this, so I end up going down. Good ult.
Neon knocked back, does have the Feather Storm, isn't going to use it as of yet. Ignite ticking on Neon. He's walking his way away, doesn't burn the flash. Gideus on his way down as well. The feathers get pulled back, but don't really connect on G2.
Yeah, good play from Mickey there. Forces Neon to use a heal, even trade-off overall. Looks like Neon will have to base, but yeah, I think you're completely right. I wonder if Caps' Valkyrie was up in that play. He didn't decide to flash away. Broken Blade using the ultimate onto Wunder.
There's no one really up here to trade with them. That Cyclone doing quite a lot of work. Broken Blade at a level disadvantage, but Wunder is the one who has to flash away. Remember, it was Wunder who went in and gnarred Broken Blade to start off that fight.
Well, we can see that at a certain point, this matchup starts to swing in favor of the Wukong, and Broken Blade having the Sheen completed plus the Phage. Looks like he's starting to get the better of Wunder in those extended trades, especially in the Mega Gnar form when you are very reliant on those cooldowns as well. So good stuff there from Broken Blade. And all good stuff from Schalke. You know, we saw from the analyst desk a couple 3-1 predictions. I think many people expected G2 to just come in and dominate. And of course, there's still a lot of the game left to go. We still have 2 scaling compositions, but I think Schalke have showed that with the 2 weeks of prep and good planning, they're here to tango with G2.
Yeah, I'll say, Vedi, coming into this game, if you looked at it right now, you'd say the red team perhaps has more experience on the playoff stage. Well, that's just not the case. G2, 320 LEC games for Wunder, 450 for Jankos. You look at the side of Schalke, and some of them are struggling even to get up to 60 games here in the LEC. But right now, Schalke are really betraying the amount of experience they have.
I mean, I think it's just interesting, right? And obviously, we can't say that G2's performance is due to like, they're choking on stage, right? That's not what we're trying to say, of course.
14 minutes in.
But I think that it just goes to show that when you return to the stage, like Kadriel, you can probably comment more on like playing on the stage is such a different environment, right? And when you don't have that same level of experience, you kind of just assume that those with experience would just be in the advantage. But it feels like Schalke is extremely comfortable in that current position.
Yeah, when it comes to stage, it's all about comfort. Not so much experience, but actually feeling comfortable in your environment and being able to play at full potential, whether it's a bit too cold in the room or you're not sitting properly or it just feels like your setup's off. All these small things can distract you. But it looks like Schalke definitely on point this game. Almost a 2,000 gold lead. Looking at the game itself, we've got both neutral objectives coming up, ideas. We've got the Dragon and the Herald. I think the Dragon definitely beneficial for Schalke now that they've already got one, get towards those Dragon Soul points. And the Herald is very, very useful in the mid game to get the mid towers. And Limit is flashing on Mickey.
Flashing in, looking to try and get Gileas around the corner. Jankos on his way as well. TP's coming in from Schalke as they look to join the fight. It's Abbedagge who will come down here. Limit was the one who flashed in, and here comes Caps. Unstoppable Onslaught used. Limit's already down before the fight even really begins. A great explosive cast from Mickey. They look for Neon. They can't quite get there. The Feather Storm coming out, but Caps with the Phosphorus Bomb, with the Valkyrie. Caps. G2 are going to clean this one up. It should be an easy enough 3-0 for G2 in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Schalke overreached there. Limit tried to outplay Mickey and push him in, but there was no one there to respond. Caps had the mid push. Abbedagge was forced to TP in, and Caps also had the package. So that team fight went so in favor of G2. They pick up 3 kills, and now they're definitely back back in this game.
And just like that, G2 flipped the game on its head. Just one overextension from Schalke ends up costing them a lot. And Abbedagge, he used his CP because he did not have priority in mid. There was a wave underneath his tower, so he's like, I've got a TP so that I can actually be involved here. I can't allow Caps to get here first. Limit engages onto Mickey. They see the position of Rekkles and they think, hey, we're actually in a better position and we're stronger right now, especially with a TP coming through. But now Schalke is split, and this is G2's opportunity to engage.
Yeah, and they have no re-engage, right? The engage from Mickey was flawless, gets onto Gilius and Neon, knocks them both back, like you said, spreads them all out, whereas G2 can just run at them. They have the package, he uses the package to cancel the ultimate from Abbedagge, doesn't get knocked back, picks up the kill, Gilius has to flash away in 3 kills. And not only that, did they get 3 kills, but Wunder actually pushed in top, moved mid. And if you look at your minimap, Schalke's tier 1 mid's down as well, so not only did they get 3 kills, they cracked open the mid lane tower in the early game, which is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, in the matter of 30 seconds, we went from Schalke having a 1,000 gold lead to now G2 being 1,000 gold ahead, having stopped that dragon stacking. Caps sitting 1-1-0 with 180 farm at the 16-minute mark, is in such a good position. You can see a roller coaster of a gold difference between the two teams over the last couple of moments.
It's important to note that while G2 have flipped the game to be an advantage, it doesn't mean that things are all over doom and gloom for Schalke. They still have a good scaling comp. You still look at Abbedagge on this Azir. You know that Broken Blade is on a champion that he knows he can carry with and have impact on. And while he's at a bit of a deficit right now, I look at Schalke's comp and still think that they have avenues and ways to get back into the game. It's a bad execution though, and that's something that G2 will consistently check you on. If you make that misstep, if you overextend, if you try to make a play, you've got to make sure that you pull it off, because if you don't, G2 will look to punish you.
Yeah, look at Broken Blade. This is exactly what we want to see. Pushing the sides and move mid, but G2 definitely punish Schalke in that play. But Schalke got the Herald for themselves because of the tempo. When they're at the base after taking the mid tower, they all went top side, and using this Herald to get mid tier 1 as well. So the gold does come down a little bit. This game is quite even, but Caps on the side lane pushing top. Abbedagge is really struggling to match the side lane against Caps, because Caps naturally wins in this 1v1 with the items he's got right now. Azir needs a bit more time. Not only that, but G2 are moving from mid after pushing in waves, going on towards the top side, so Abbedagge has to respect more, meaning Caps can push in the wave first, which makes it very difficult for him to last hit because he's under tower and he's scared of getting dove.
You can see already Abbedagge and Gilius. They're trying to shadow each other, but they have to back away. Mickey coming in from the side as well, has that explosive cast. And look at the damage from Jankos. Turbo Chemtank with Kai'Sa jumping in as well. Rekkles looking for the killer instinct. Abbedagge had to flash away.
Yeah, exactly like I was talking about. G2 are playing so well over waves. They're pushing together, making sure they have numbers advantages. It looked like Jankos was going a bit deep there, but he knew his team was around. Rekkles comes in with the killer instinct. Really good play from G2 there to push in this top side, get deep vision, and make Schalke back off.
Limit did try to interrupt Wunder there because they have Broken Blade pushing in a bot. If he can get this wave underneath the tower, maybe get a bit of damage down onto this tower, Schalke can at least get something back, but it seems that G2 are going to walk away the victors when it comes to objectives right now. But all across the board, still 2 for 2 in towers. Drake still very even. Next Drake spawning in about 2 minutes time. There's no heralds available anymore, and so we're moving into the mid to late game. First itemization is starting to come through, and this is where we should expect to start to see these big fights starting to happen. Things like the 3rd, the 4th Drake is really where these teams are going to start to get involved and try to build those bigger gold leads.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The game's pretty much even in terms of resources, barring the 1,000 gold lead that G2 have. 2 towers, 1 Drake apart, and we'll have to see. These carries in more items. If Azir and Xayah can get an item advantage or half an item advantage going into this Drake fight, the next Drake fight perhaps, then obviously you're more favored in the fights, but it's also about how well you play it, right? So if Limit can find great flanks and knock Rekkles into his team, or if Broken Blade can get these 5-man cyclones, then the team fights will be definitely skewed. So Schalke have a lot of ways and avenues to find these fights because they have so many people who can flank.
And I think that's it, Kadriel. When I look at these fights, I always like to look at specific players. Who am I looking at to make that montage moment? Who am I looking at? I'm looking at Limit. I think that he as a player has been huge when it comes to a lot of Schalke's engages throughout the splits, especially when he gets his hands on this Alistar. What about you? Who are you paying attention to when we come into these fights?
Definitely Broken Blade. He's pushing out the sides and he keeps collapsing mid again. He pushed out bot, he's moving towards mid. I'd like to see him go behind the whole comp of G2, but G2's comp's a lot easier to execute, right? Jankos can go in, Mickey can go in, Limit's just flashing in.
He flashes in straight onto Mickey. They get the stun onto him as well. Mickey puts the explosive cast down. Neon coming in for the chase as well, and another stun lands onto Mickey, and Neon gets the kill. You said it just 30 seconds ago, Vedius. You're looking to Limit, and Limit was looking for the pick onto Mickey.
But it was the whole setup from Schalke, as Caps has found Abbedagge, but he's going to glide out of that one. It was a great engage from Limit, but also the fact that the team worked together. Broken Blade pushed in bot, he grouped up with the team. Now Schalke looks to collapse on to Caps, but he's going to have to TP away to safety.
Yeah, Caps TPing away. It's a bit risky to go for a 20-minute Baron, but you have Azir and Xayah, but I would not go for that kind of risk because G2 can collapse quite quickly. Wunder can TP in, and you could lose the game from it. So 30 seconds on this Dragon. I think G2 were just quite split up when this fight started, and the thing I want to highlight here is Mickey. I think this was just a small misplay. Limit's engage was great, and he does knock him into his team. Limit's Alistar has been absolutely flawless, but Mickey's ultimate actually knocked Limit in so that he could stun Mickey. I think if he didn't get the stun on Mickey, Mickey perhaps could have lived. So small misplay there. Broken Blade using the ult to disrupt the fight in case anyone tried to turn. But in general, Schalke just get a kill. Looks like they don't get the Drake though. They all had to base and they're moving out towards the top side. So I think G2 will push in these waves. Jankos pushing mid. They have to push in top as well so they can get this Drake.
This is one of those situations where it may have even been a tactical death from Mickey, because when you think about it, that's Limit's flash gone, which he now doesn't have for the upcoming Drake fight. And when we talk about Limit being one of the primary engage tools for Schalke, notice now that they've reset, G2 have set up on the objective, and they're going to be the first ones to be able to set up and actually secure this Inferno.
Yeah, getting picks like that means you have full control of the map, right? The second Limit got the kill onto Mickey, and they got the kill as Schalke. Schalke controlled the whole river. And what they did, they invested their time that Mickey was dead to run top and force Caps TP. But they hadn't based since the kill, so they all went back to base, and by the time they based, Mickey was already out on the map towards bot side. Caps had based with TP, and now he's running towards the bot side as well, so Schalke had to give up the Drake. If you look at the vision on the bot side of the map, G2 have it lit up as well. There was no way Schalke could walk in there. And Schalke kind of traded that for the top push, a little bit of topside vision, and Abbedagge is hitting the top tower. So you can see how one kill can actually backfire if you don't use the time that you have when that person's dead effectively.
Well, it feels like both teams just trading around vision. Cap's going to get stunned up here, uses the Valkyrie to get away. TP coming in from Wunder. There's the unstoppable onslaught, and there is no way out of it. Rekkles gets the kill onto Gilius. Now the chase is on. Wunder trying to double bounce his way in. Jankos on a rampage looking for the flank here. Featherstorm flash is not enough. Jankos goes on a killing spree, and Limit pops the Unbreakable Will to try and get himself away as the top lane tower slowly gets chipped away. Limit will fall, and you said a 20-minute Baron might be a little bit risky here, Cagel. But if 3 of the enemy team are dead, it's pretty darn easy.
That was quite an overreach from Gilius. He tried to find the pick onto Caps with his flash, but G2 again just collapsed in time. They punished them for this engage, and G2 just blew this whole game wide open with just Schalke's mistake. They capitalized on it. You said it, Vedius. G2 will punish you for these mistakes, and that's a Baron gone at 21, 22 minutes into the game. So Schalke definitely, the game was kind of slow and kind of even up until this point where Gilius, I think he's trying to find a pick here with the double TP on his tide. He knows Caps has no TP, but he's the one going on to Caps, so G2 are just all collapsing. Wunder TPing in, and Mickey's coming from base.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where Abbedagge has TP, so he should be able to collapse, but the problem is Broken Blade's not in a position where he can. The wave was being pushed against him. Wunder could collapse first, and G2 bought enough time to be able to turn the play in their favor. They had more numbers, which meant that Schalke just basically got caught with their pants down. They tried to force an engage that they could not execute upon properly.
Yeah, I think that's just miscommunication there. Gilius going in, but both his solo laners not even ready to TP in for the fight. So no matter what you do there, it's a 3v4 when Wunder's ready to react. So poor play there from Schalke, I must say. Now 4,000 gold down, 3 minutes on the next Dragon. First Baron's always good for cracking out tier 2s, and Schalke's all tier 2s are up, so I'm expecting G2 to play a 1-4, push in mid and move to the side where Wunder is and try to get these towers.
And now we get towards those, third, fourth Dragon fights that you were talking about just a few moments ago. You have to start looking at the items. And because of these kills, because of these fights, G2 have started to develop an item lead. Collector already complete on Rekkles. He's already got a recurve bow. Essence Reaver, Immortal Shield Bow complete on Caps. Jankos has the most damage you can get on Hecarim, apparently, which is Turbo, Chem Tank, and a Dead Man's Plate, because all you've got to do is go fast, and somehow the enemies go pop. Now with Baron, Wunder can push in the bot lane. G2 can group up 4 players in the mid lane here with the 1-4 split. They should be able to chip away at these towers, and Gilius really doesn't have a way to step forward. Apart from Limit, Schalke don't have an engage tool.
Yeah, I think all you see here is Wunder will push in the next bot wave and move towards mid after this wave, but Schalke need to find a fight, they need to find a pick, so that's why Broken Blade's looking for the ultimate, but Wunder uses the hop, gets away, and now all of G2 can collapse and start hitting his mid tower when the wave comes in, and to me, Jankos has been playing fantastically so far. Ever since that early game death he had under the tower, he's just stepped it up, and in all these team fights, he's collapsing first and playing them very well.
And notice that something Kadra was talking a lot about in draft was he wants to see the Wukong getting these flank behind and engage. That is another way Schalke can start fights, but because of the amount of pressure that Wunder is generating and with the good vision setup from G2, Broken Blade has never had this opportunity to find a good flank off, which means that all your engage is relying on Limit having his flash up, and G2 is respecting that. They're taking their time, they've secured 2 tier 2 towers, and now after getting a decent amount of gold, they can look to reset, spend a little bit more, and then set up for the next Drake.
Yeah, set up perfectly for the next Dragon in 90 seconds time. It's an Infernal, will only be their third, but of course, if they can continue to stack those up, Infernal Soul can rip through enemy teams.
I like what Rekkles is doing here. Top wave was actually pushing into Schalke, so he's going to go fix that wave, push it in, maybe push in the next one, or just base because Dragon's spawning soon, which in turn means Schalke are eventually going to lose creeps in the top side if no one pushes it out. But bottom mid till Drake Medic, that's where the next team fight will be. Schalke could afford to give this up because it's not Dragon Soul, it's only Dragon Soul points for G2, but losing these objectives means you have to fight the next one no matter what.
Interesting to see Rekkles decide Nash's 2/3 here on the Kai'Sa. Of course, hybrid builds were all the rage for Kai'Sa when she first came out. We haven't seen it that much recently, but it does still work very well on the champ. And with Caps building up his 2 items as well, he's going to be in a very strong position. Looks like he's almost at the Infinity Edge here on the Corki. Has just pinged level 16, so those rockets are going to hurt a whole bunch.
Yeah, Broken Blade still has a TP. I feel like he's had it for a very long time, but he's never actually been able to use it effectively. Schalke, they tried to get into this bot side river before the Drake spawns to get some wards, perhaps for the TPs, but that's all been swept out. Can we see Schalke's vision observers? I think they see absolutely nothing on the map. It's dark, not even a ward in their own jungle on either side, so Schalke need to establish some control. Maybe push out the mid wave together and then walk around the map to try and get some vision. You would expect top side because G2 are all around the bot side.
Look, they've even brought Broken Blade down. They're not relying on his TP because they need numbers to be able to gain mid-prio and face check. Now, as you already said, Limit looking for a flank.
Did you see the damage on that rocket? He has the package as well. Limit has to try and find engage, but Caps can cancel it.
Like, how do you engage? 7,000 gold behind. G2 can start up the Infernal Soul here. Sorelia's from Limit, but there is the package to try and get away. Broken Blade stepping forward, Limit eats all of his HP. Dragon goes down. Wonder building up the Mega. Jankos going in. Onslaught of Shadows is available, and he just rampages over the cow. Onslaught of Shadow comes out. Abbedagge forced away. He flashes. Broken Blade now on the front line, trying to get away from Rekkles, Mickey, and Wonder. Wonder gnaws him into the wall, and Broken Blade is going nowhere today. Jankos chasing off the rest of Schalke all on his lonesome. But here comes Wonder, and here comes Mickey. G2 not satisfied with 2. They're looking for every kill they can get. Another one goes into the back pocket. Wallop lands on Abbedagge. Gilius forced away as Rekkles takes the kill. Abbedagge gets one, but that's an ace, and G2 have won this game at the 27-minute mark.
Give them an inch and they will take a mile. Schalke looked promising in the early game, but a couple of mistakes when it comes to execution of some of their fights and some of their plays, and G2 immediately punished them. Flawless execution in the mid to late game from G2, and they're going to end this game in a confident fashion.
Yeah, the early game looked shaky, but never doubt G2, right? A couple thousand gold behind is nothing to them. They just punished the mistakes from Schalke, overreaching in the mid lane a couple of times. First with a couple kills and a Drake, and then with the Baron, which I think was the nail in the coffin. G2's macro, obviously, probably the best macro we've got in Europe, if not in the West right now. And then when you give them these small inches, you get the Baron, you get the setup, it's hard to break.
It was an impressive game, man. Very impressive from G2.
We'll give credit to Schalke. Those first 10 minutes, they were ahead. They got 3 kills. They had a gold lead, and then a couple of misplays, especially that bot lane play where we saw G2 picking up 3 kills for naught, really started to turn the game around.
What I think was really interesting was we had a situation where both comps were similar, right? And if Schalke come into the mid game with a lead, they're obviously in a great position to succeed. But something we said was you have to execute, because if you make that small mistake, G2 is a team that will immediately take advantage of, and that's exactly how they did it. They turned this game around, and they very quickly ran away with the game.
They really did. After the break, Treeks and Crown Shot will break down the opening game as G2 kick things off with a win.
They are out there, waiting to be discovered. Some of them are big, and some of them are small. But that's the thing with ideas. They don't just come to you. To find them, you have to move. Kia, movement that inspires.
welcome back to the Analyst Desk. The reigning champion punished Schalke's mistakes and then just ran away with game number one. I'm Quickshot, joined by Treats as well as Crownshot, dialing in from home. And we're going to break down game number one. The way I would categorize it is the most typical G2 win ever. I would like to ask people who are significantly smarter than I am, though, if that's fair or not. And let's talk about the picks and bans. Let's talk a little bit about the draft order. And I want to come to Treats first. When I saw the 3 AD bans, specifically Lucian, Senna, Tristana on red side, very clear respect ban for the Senna, and obviously getting rid of the power of flex for both that Trist and Lucian.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Senna ban against Reckless is definitely a given. I think we'll keep seeing it throughout the series. Lucian and Tristana, especially Tristana, is a really good flex for both Caps and Reckless. So I think that makes a lot of sense as well. And then the Lucian is probably for the Lucian Lilia, which I think, like Crownshot said before, the mid jungle will be a big part of the series, and Lucian Lilia is just a really strong mid jungle. So I think, honestly, the Schalke bans made a lot of sense.
Now, when you zoom out and you look at the comps and how it played out, what were some of the other takeaways that you had after seeing the picks and bans?
I think G2 had a lot of strong lanes in general. They picked the Gragas into Alistar, they had Gnar, which is a really solid laner, and then Corki into Azir. So I think they went for more of a unique playstyle in that sense, where they just had a lot of strong individual power, but not as much as a 5-man. So I think they just played to outplay Schalke individually, and I think this game they did, even though Schalke got some kills early game.
Crownshot, what do you make of the draft yourself and what you thought was important?
Yeah, I mean, I think one key thing is that they got Corki into Azir, right, which for sure outscales, but he actually wasn't even pressured in lane, and he just got one item. He got Essence River, and he made a package play where they got 3 kills, and after that the game was pretty much completely in their control. So maybe next game Schalke might fourth pick top lane and look to last pick mid, because I think mid is going to be key in this series. They need to get mid under control, because if Caps is on a pick that outscales and he doesn't even get pressured, then they're going to have huge issues.
Well, listen, we'll find out exactly what side selection Schalke have in a moment or two, but those plays you just talked about, Crowning, we do actually have some replays of them. Just before we get to them, before we go to them, too late. No, my bad. It's not my bad. What I was going to say was, leading up to this point, Schalke had picked up 3 kills that we were not stressing about, we were nervous about. Crownshot, here's this play where Caps is going to roam. Explain to me why this is so important for G2.
I mean, so here Gnar is also pushing top, and he shifts into mid, and this play is like, Schalke is way too deep here, right? They should never be contesting this Tribush vision. It's just, they should just wait package out. And here they managed to get 3 kills. Gnar is moving mid, pushing mid wave, taking mid tower. They take full bot wave, push it, they take Drake, and then the map is just theirs. It's pretty much over after this, because the Corki is accelerated, and their comp is horrible into Corki. Azir, Udyr cannot do anything to him on side. They have like 3 melee champs that get ruined by package. Xayah is short range, gets ruined by poke, so the pick was actually great, and if it gets accelerated, it's just very hard for Schalke.
Yeah, I think in general it's just Schalke kind of felt desperate even at this point in the game, which I don't think is a good sign. I think Schalke plays the best when they have really clear engage windows, but I think they struggled after this play specifically to really find good engage windows. So I think for the next game, maybe they will have some easier options. Alistar into Gragas is not very easy to play for engage, and I think Gilius doesn't have an easy game this game either. So I think in general, they should look for more clear win solutions for themselves and just have an easier time playing.
Yeah, I think Kedra was saying something similar in game. He was talking about how Gilius and Schalke would have so much loved to get their hands on the Hecarim, how it kind of would fit those things you were talking about, right? Crownshot, we were talking a lot when we were prepping for this around those 3 kills that Schalke picked up. I mean, Jankos just donated one. He just ran in and just kind of ended it, right, for first blood. Yeah. But while we were watching, the 3 of us were chatting, we're like, well, this doesn't really matter. It's not enough of a lead. I think Schalke picked up like 1,000 gold advantage. Did Schalke need a lot more to make their team composition work and put them in a more favorable position?
Yeah, I think always if you play stuff like Comet Azir into Corki and you're even, or the Corki was actually even ahead around 120 CS, and then they used Herald for him, they gave him plates, and then he just got his one item, and then he just took over the map. So if you play that matchup, either you need to play more to pressure the Corki. They actually did try, because Limit with the early kills he got, he bought Mobius, didn't do anything. couldn't pressure mid lane. So they need to either pick champions that can pressure Corki more or pressure mid lane more, or just pick different matchups.
Yeah, it's actually crazy when you think about it, because Gilius did gank mid. He picked up Chemtank. After picking up Chemtank, immediately just ran Caps down.
Yep.
It didn't work out. Now, the second replay, Treats, I'm going to throw this one to you. This was, of course, an engage attempt from Gilius. That gets turned around by G2.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the desperation I talked about. I think Gilius just doesn't see a clear window on how to win this game anymore. And he wants to go for a play that he thinks might work, even though it's obvious that it wouldn't be a good play, right? So I think, especially for Gilius and Limit, having engaged comfort will be the key for Schalke. And I think at this point they just thought the game was over and that they're getting outscaled, so they just had to go for something before the Nexus exploded.
Was it Crownshot who said a moment ago maybe feeling a bit desperate? I don't know if he said or maybe I said that. But like that was the fight to me. That was just like, oh my god, if you know Schalke don't get something now, it's done.
Yeah.
You know, is that a sentiment that you would agree with there, Crowny?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, that's why I'm stressing, maybe if you want to, like, Schalke need to find engage windows, and to do that, they need to maybe ban Corki or maybe put caps on more immobile champions, right? Because if he is playing such a safe champion that outscales and you don't find windows to punish him, then the game will be very, very tough.
Well, we're looking at the picks and bans on screen, and this is hugely important. Really good job, production, because Schalke and Nulfia have side selection as they lost game 1, and they've picked red side again for game number 2. Treats, I'm going to turn to you and ask you, what would you change? You can see the draft on your screen. We've talked a lot. There are so many things you have to do to beat G2, right?
Yep.
So it's like, it's a nearly impossible question to answer. But knowing we want to see engage, knowing that the Lilia was banned, it was a first pick Hecarim, like, what are some of the other options that Schalke could look at to get a draft that will allow them to have those engaged tools you want?
Yeah, it's very hard to outdraft G2, I think. They just have a lot of strong laners in general that has insane champion pools, right? But I think their first 3 was not too bad. I think the problem, like Crownshot said, comes from the 4-5 where they pick up the Azir.
Yep.
I think the mid lane is just the key in this series, in this sense, and I think they just can't let Caps have an outscaling pick that is fine in lane and just can't get engaged on. So I think they need to swap up mid and pick a top on 4, maybe like an Aatrox, something like that, a strong team fighter, and to go from there.
I really like that. Crownshot, I'm going to give you one last closing thought as we move on, because you baited me with the Neon tweet, and you promised me spicy picks, and you told me that all tweets from pros about spicy picks are true. I have it on record. You did this. So we didn't see anything spicy. Do you think we'll see some spicy stuff in game 2?
No, my prediction is just going to be Kai'Sa Xayah trading the whole series.
Oh, you're just so anti-fun. You're anti-fun, Crownshot. Listen, Crownshot as well as Treats and I will actually bring you the picks and bans for game number 2 right here from the analyst desk. Stick around and see what Schalke can do against G2. You're a liar, Crownshot.